and a fourth generation member of the Shakti Group. When was Shakti Group conceptualized? When was the founding stone laid out? And what were the founding principles and values basis which the group was started? If you could share with us today.
My grandfather started the business in 1921. Actually, it was started as a sole proprietorship in 1921. It was corporatized in 1931. So, if you look at it formally, we are about more than 100 years old today.
Some of the success stories wherein Shakti Finance has been able to contribute to the growth or to the success of its borrowers.
So there was a brand study that we had done a couple of years ago just to understand the perception of Shakti Finance from various stakeholders. So some of our customers at that point had basically said that Shakti is our Kairasi. So in Tamil, that's a very strong, in the culture that we are from, it's a very strong sentiment to kind of have.
To all our viewers, followers and investors from the Golden Pie community, a very warm welcome to all of you. I am Abhijit Roy, co-founder and CEO of Golden Pie, the leading online platform for fixed income investments. This is the 12th episode of our Industry Speak series. To our first-time viewers, what we do in this show is we invite companies who are trailblazers, the rising stars, the behemoths from the financial industry. We get into a very deep discussion with their promoters, founders, and the CXOs and try to understand what they are building, their struggles and successes, and the way in which they are impacting the financial landscape of the country. But today we have got a rare opportunity to talk to the leaders of an entity that is a behemoth, a rising star, and a trailblazer all in one. Behemoth because it is a large business conglomerate that is running over 100 years. Trailblazer because the group has diversified across multiple business lines with success. And Rising Star because one of its flagship companies is making an indelible mark and solving a very pertinent problem in the NBFC landscape. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a sheer pleasure to have this opportunity to learn about Shakti Group and then deep dive into learning about Shakti Finance, a marquee NBFC company. I have the pleasure of inviting to our show Mr. M. Balasubramaniam, the promoter director of Shakti Group. He is also the vice chairman and managing director of Shakti Finance and also Shakti Sugars Limited. He plays an active role in the educational sector. He is on the board of multiple colleges, including Kumaraguru College of Technology in Coimbatore and NGM College of Arts and Science in Pollachi. He holds a master's degree in commerce from Madras University and a master's degree in business administration from Notre Dame University, USA. We also have with us Ms. Shruti Balasubramaniam, Executive Director at Shakti Financial Services and a fourth generation member of the Shakti Group. She has been at the helm of this financial entity since 2018 and has contributed significantly to the continuous process improvement and strategy enhancements in the organization. Shruti has done a bachelor's in commerce from Stella Maris College, Chennai, and an MBA from University of Warwick, UK. She is also actively involved in multiple social causes. A very warm welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
First question to you, Mr. Balasubramaniam, is when was Shakti Group conceptualized? When was the founding stone laid out? And what were the founding principles and values basis which the group was started? If you could share with us today.
My grandfather started the business in 1921. Actually, it was started as a sole proprietorship in 1921. It was corporatized in 1931. So, if you look at it formally, we are about more than 100 years old today. He started with Pollachi, the hometown where we are from, is the major trading town between Tamil Nadu and Kerala. So, even till today, it holds the weekly shandies are one of the largest in the state of Tamil Nadu. So, therefore, the town offered a unique opportunity of providing transportation services So my grandfather started with transporting goods to Anamalize, the nearest hill where the Britishers had the tea estates, and also other passenger services.
So this was in the pre-independence eras itself.
Pre-independence, yes. So 1921.
Right.
Then from transporting goods from bullock carts, when the demand started going up, then he switched over to a single truck, and the number of trucks started going up. Seeing the goods being transported, then the passengers also started asking for to be transported. So therefore, our journey into passenger transportation started. So therefore, from goods to transport in 1921, we corporatized it and called it as Anamalized Bus Transports, which is known as ABT today. And our group are known by two names. One is ABT Group in Tamil Nadu and Shakti Group across India. So therefore, I think ultimately from 1931, we grew into a size of 150 buses, which was the peak size that was there. During this course, since we are from agrarian family, strong values and inclusive growth become part of our business outlook. Therefore, when my father joined in the business, the first task was to establish an educational institution by selling one or two bus routes. So our first educational institution started in mid-50s. So therefore, along with ABT, we also established the first colleges in Pollachi and the Polytechnic in Pollachi to cater to both technology side and the arts and the science side. So that's where you will find that wherever we set up a business, we believe in inclusive growth. We believe in a strong cultural and value integration with business activities. Therefore, that's where you will find that today, along with the business ethics, a strong cultural and integration and value integration takes place.
That's a very unique fact about your business group, and we'll dive deep into those cultural aspects as we speak along. Um, Next, what would be of interest for us and our viewers to know is, as a business group, as I understand, right, started in 1921. Now we are sitting in 2024. That's like over 102 years of a business group running, right? What are the various business functions or the business entities or companies that you have under this business group? If you can share that.
So we have a diversified portfolio of businesses, starting from sugar, finance, auto components, auto dealerships, tea and coffee estates, dairy, educational institutions, and the healthcare facilities. These are the broad aspects. In addition to that, we also deal with Maruti. We are the largest dealers of Maruti in Tamil Nadu, and we are one of the largest vehicle dealers of Tata Motors in Tamil Nadu, and also Ferrarias. So these are the broad areas in which we operate. All this expansion came when my father joined the business. So he started with, in 1957, he started with textiles, Sakti Sugars, and other manufacturing companies. Shakti Finance was started in 1955 as an in-house financing arm for the group, we being in commercial vehicles and buses. Then in 2000, we kind of went public, and it got into financing of commercial vehicles.
Got it. Now, one interesting thing that definitely would be a learning for a lot of other businesses, right, or representatives from businesses who are watching this, right? It's a huge business conglomerate which you're running, and during one of our prior conversations, I understood that there are over 40 such entities, including educational institutions and other companies under this group, right? It's a different kind of a management style that needs to be followed over here to be able to manage so many businesses in diverse directions, right, and have that market dominance, right? What is that, the secret that that you execute as the leader of this group, right, which helps you in managing all these entities in such a coherent and in a successful way?
So when I talked about inclusivity, we also include employees in the inclusivity. Therefore, there is a lot of emphasis given on trust and as a value. Therefore, we also ensure that the employees are empowered to a great extent. So they demonstrate the art of Swaraj. I mean,
Art of Swaraj.
art of Swaraj. So when it means Swaraj, it's a self-leadership.
Right.
So along with self-leadership, trust as a critical component is inculcated right from the time that they join the business. So fairly, you will find those companies which are listed. We are well governed through our independent directors and the committee of directors. In Shakti Finance, you will find that 50% of our directors are independent directors. In Shakti Sugars, you will also find that more than 50% are independent directors. We fairly follow corporate governance structures where the independent directors are fairly given a good empowerment to look at governance as a critical factor. When we come to the non-listed companies, the employees are given the same powers that we give to the independent directors to take the trust as a very critical and important aspect. So therefore, I think as a management, along with the metrics, I think trust and the self-ownership or the acting like a owner as a culture is imbibed into the daily life.
Got it. I think two key things for all of us to learn from here. One is beyond business, that trust and that ownership, that concept of ownership that you drive into the employees, into the companies, right? I think that would be one of the magic components which has helped Shakti Group run over a decade, over a century. And so successfully across multiple business lines. One key observation, around any business group has been that uh, after some point of time, the business group doesn't just remain like a business; they go beyond that to contributing to the society at large, right? And that's how people start associating with that business group as such, right? That it is way larger than just mere transactions or revenue, right? It's more to upliftment of the society, to doing good for others, to giving back to the society. Our research shows that Shakti has a very strong presence in those areas of promoting social causes. The question would be to you, Shruti, if you can elaborate on this area of how Shakti Group, what is the philosophy that Shakti Group over here has, and what are the causes that you are championing?
So I think it starts off with my great-grandfather. So I'm the 4th generation member now. So I've heard of stories. Unfortunately, I haven't seen him in action. But then when he started off in 1921 with one single sort of bullock cart and moved on to setting up many such vehicles for transport, the first thing I think he did was set up a maternity hospital in Pollachi to address a very specific need that was there. There were no maternity centers in and around Pollachi, so they had to come all the way to the city, even if it was an emergency.
And how far would that city be from Pollachi?
Coimbatore would be the nearest city, maybe around 40-50 kilometers.
That's pretty critical in
yeah,
in
and
these
especially
cases.
when time is of essence. So I think that need he had identified, and he set up a hospital there. And the very interesting thing is there's a scoreboard sort of thing in the hospital, which is still running. We've recently taken the administration over again. And there's a scoreboard which basically says over the years how many deliveries have happened there. And it's a very touching story also because people who were born there, even say 20, 30 years back, they still come there on their birthdays to visit the place and to just sort of celebrate there. So I think it started off there. And even if the business was really small, there was always a part of the company that wanted to give back. And that started with the founders' values. So I think when my grandfather started, it just became amplified with the number of institutions that were being set up. There was also educational institutions and healthcare centers also being set up at the same time. So it always went hand in hand. So business goals were never far apart from promoting to growth of the society also. So it was always two sides of a coin. It never was really apart from each other. So I think we also sort of learn from what we see, and we've seen this over many decades. We've heard of our great-grandfather's stories. We've seen our grandfather do this. And also with the previous generation, where my uncles, my father, all of them have businesses, a critical aspect of the business, once you do well in the business and you have a profit, the first question comes across is how do you sort of uplift your community which you are serving? And if we have certain customers, what can we do for them to also increase their standing in the society and just general livelihood? So I think that's the kind of ethos with which we've grown up in, and we would like to continue that, and I hopefully we are doing that. And
I think that's a very fantastic story, which we actually haven't heard of in a lot of our other interactions with with business houses and NBFCs, right? This is a very societal centric business which is like growing itself, and at the same time, along with that, pulling up the community around also, right? It's a great story. Now let's dive deep into Shakti Finance and understand its workings. Question to you is, when was Shakti Finance formed, and what was the specific business problem that you saw in the society that you wanted to solve with this entity?
Shakti Finance was formed in 1955 as an internal financing arm for the group. Then when our experiences in commercial vehicle industry grew stronger, and we noticed an opportunity which is also a problem statement for underrepresented customers. So today we cater to a segment of used commercial vehicle refinancing, where our target customers are the small and medium road transport operators. So when I say small, it's about 2 to 3 vehicles or less than 2 to 3 vehicles, and medium it will be about 5 to 7 vehicles or less. So these customers lack the financial inclusion, and also to some extent because of the financial inclusion, it's also social inclusion. So they more or less lack these financial and social inclusion issues.
Like, what was the specific need to focus on refinancing the used commercial vehicles? Like, financing for new commercial vehicles is a pattern, a trend, right? What was it interesting observation that you had with which you felt the need that this is something that is worth starting and will solve a problem? Because as you mentioned rightly, the owners of small fleet to medium sized fleet, they were being left out by the banks to be financed and refinanced. So if you can shed some light on that.
Let me just compare the automotive market and the commercial vehicle market. Automotive market, the valuation for a car, it's very easy to do because the usage is normal usage. Whereas a commercial vehicle, it goes under multiple applications. If the applications are mining, then the valuation falls very drastically. Similarly, if the application is more in terms of a road transport, then the valuation doesn't deteriorate that much. Therefore, I think the need is to see the kind of a customer usage of the vehicles, how the vehicles are applied, to ensure that there is a risk management takes place, so that the money that we lend is safe for the customer. And right from the inception, I think because of the strong value systems, we also kind of ingrained into the business that we act more as trustees of public funds rather than pure as a business transaction. So combined with the values and the business practices, it's very critical that the money that we lend is put into proper use and also recovered well in time, so that the servicing of the resources or the depositors can be done.
So I'll take a cue from that question, regarding the recovery that you mentioned. One of the key areas of focus for any NBFC is to have a very robust recovery mechanism, right? And from the market study that we do, and also from the newspaper article that comes out, right, it's normally there are recovery companies specifically who are assigned to do that work, and they do a very because they're indifferent to the end customer irrespective of the state, they would go ahead and have a very sometimes extreme kind of steps to do the recovery, right? So that's a kind of structure that is there that we see for a lot of entities, and it comes out in the news, right? But for Shakti Finance, how robust is the recovery model, and what is it that you have?
So, I mean, let me draw parallel to automotive collections and commercial vehicle collections. Maybe I will add the housing finance collections also. You find automotive and housing are more or less static assets which are within the given broad geographic area. Whereas a commercial vehicle, it runs 24/7 across the country and across the state. Therefore, our understanding of the customer and the usage has to be extremely very high. At the same time, when the customer gets into a difficulty, we also must see the broader aspect and more support them to grow the business rather than just be a punitive collection agent. Therefore, it's very critical that in a business like a used commercial vehicle, we always believe that having our own team which understands the customer, understands the usage, and normally our employees are attached to a customer like a customer servicing agent. Therefore, the relationship goes far beyond just lending and collection, but also to be part of their business as an advisory service.
That is a very stark, and great point about what you mentioned with respect to a lot of other NBFCs. As in, the key point over here is Shakti Finance, as I understand, has got its own internal team to collect the payments on the loans that are disbursed, and there's a relationship manager, sort of an entity, a person, single person who is assigned to a customer. So there is a more human touch and interaction that comes in over there rather than just a transaction based approach. So I think that helps in growing the community of borrowers as well, and being able to look at it, being able to back up with those borrowers in times of needs,
Correct.
which is, I believe, that's has been one of your core driving principles in the business as
Correct.
well. Now, if I may ask about some hard numbers, right, which our viewers would be interested to know, uh, like what would be the revenue of Shakti Finance? What's the overall AUM that you have? And if you can also tell us what is the PAT of the NBFC. It is important for us to understand the PAT because profit after tax is what matters in the case of an NBFC and not the EBITDA value, right? And apart from that, most important metric that we would want to know is the net NPA currently in Shakti Finance. So these four parameters: revenue, PAT, AUM, and the current NPA, net NPA levels.
Our average year-to-date average for a disbursal is about 27% for the last 5 years.
27%.
27%. Between the last March 22 and March 23, our disbursals was 597 crores in March 22, and we did 822 crores in March 23, which will be around about 37%. So that has been the top line. When we come into PAT, we are looking at 12 crores, which is about an average of 23% for the last 5 year to-date average. And from last year to this year is about 3% growth rate in PAT.
And the profitability of the company, like you went profitable 5 years back, 10 years back. How was it?
We've been profitable for the last, say, 2 decades.
2 decades.
Continuous
That's 20
profitability.
years of profitability for Shakti Finance.
Yes, and dividend declaring for the last 15 years or so.
That's a stellar record, absolutely.
And even in times of COVID, we maintained the profitability and dividend declaration.
Great. I think just to summarize some of the points for our viewers, 826 crores of AUM
Disbursal.
of disbursal with a growth rate of 37%. The PAT for the last financial year has been 12 crores. The company has been profitable over the past 20 years and have been paying dividend for over the past 15 years because it's a publicly listed company, so it pays dividends, right? And the current NP levels are at around 2.5, 2.6-ish
6%.
levels, right? I would also want to understand, like, for any business, there are ups and downs in the whole journey, right? We have heard of the positive aspects of Shakti Group and Shakti Finance. If you can also, shed some light on some challenges that you have faced while running Shakti Finance in specific, and what has been the key learnings from there.
I think the major challenge that we have faced in the last decade is the COVID. Not only us, the entire country went
The
through.
entire country faced that.
But then I think because of our relationship with the customers was very strong, and because we had our own internal team doing the collections, we maintained our collections reasonably well compared to the national average. So that helped us to declare continuous dividends, maintain profitability in spite of the difficult years. And also, one thing I would like to say here is that we paid all our employees during that difficult times.
So that's very different from what we get to hear about companies, NBFCs during the challenging times of COVID, right? When there were a lot of layoffs, salaries not being disbursed, not because the companies didn't want to, but because COVID had restricted everybody's operations, collections had come down, and businesses were forced to do that. In those trying times, if Shakti Finance has been able to maintain its gait, right, gracefully as a business, that's a great success story.
So including paying off interest on time. So all the critical business metrics were met.
A great achievement as a business. Now, it would be great to hear from you about some way in some of the success stories wherein Shakti Finance has been able to contribute, right, to the growth or to the success of its borrowers, right? I mean, why I'm asking this question is because one theme which has come out very strongly during this conversation with you is your attachment to the community, right? Not just as a business, but also beyond it, to support them in their growth, right? So I'm sure you would have some success stories over there, right? It would be great for our viewers to hear a couple of them, some interesting ones.
So the mission of Shakti Finance has been to partner with the progress of the small and medium road transport operators. So over the years, customers who come to us who started off with a single vehicle, they have now graduated to becoming a fleet operator. So from a single vehicle, they've gone to owning 10 plus vehicles. So that we think is a great success story, and this is a very repetitive pattern. So year on year, we hear of customers who come back to us and say that because of the initial support that was given to them from Shakti Finance, their livelihood also has increased, their social standing, everything has improved.
So, one question over here.
Yeah.
So, just as an interesting data point, if I may ask, right, what would be the largest number of vehicles an individual would have that Shakti Finance would have financed? So
from what I know, there are people who have big transport companies with a fleet size of at least 50 to maybe 70 vehicles.
These are all large transport vehicles.
Large transport vehicles. So at a point in time, they would have come to us for maybe loans for 2 or 3 of them. But
Now it has
now,
grown to 50 or
yes,
70.
that's grown to 50 or 70.
That's like 30x jump.
Yes, and they still continue to be customers with us. And some of them, even though their business has grown tremendously, they still come back to us whenever they start a new venture to take the first loan from Shakti Finance, because they feel it's a a symbol of luck for them. So there was a brand study that we had done a couple of years ago just to understand the perception of Shakti Finance from various stakeholders. So some of our customers at that point had basically said that Shakti is our Kairasi. So in Tamil, that's a very strong, in the culture that we are from, it's a very strong sentiment to kind of have.
Kairasi means lucky,
Yeah. So I think more than the numbers, when customers have a sentimental attachment to the group, to the employees, who they are interacting with. So I think success also is defined by that and not just by growth in numbers. So we take more pride in seeing the growth of these customers who've come to us and then achieve greater things in life. So one other instance is that we had, while we were doing this study, we also initiated a campaign where our customers itself were our brand ambassadors. So while we were going across cities and meeting up with customers, we also met a lady who's a fleet operator, and she also had initially started off with one vehicle and has grown to 3 or 4 vehicles and is also a major contributor of to the family income. So those kind of stories, I think, is where our success also lies.
You mentioned that you did an extensive brand survey across your customers, right, to understand the perception about the way they look at Shakti Finance and Shakti Group, right? Wanted to understand what is the geographical presence of Shakti Group and then of Shakti Finance specifically.
So the Shakti Group has an international presence. We currently export to markets like America, Europe, and Southeast Asia.
3 markets in America, Europe, Southeast Asia.
Yes. Wow. And Shakti Finance, when you look at it, we have a very strong presence of 50 branches all across the southern part of India.
So just to summarize for our viewers, right, Shakti Group is a global group. They export to multiple geographies, including the Americas, Europe, and Southeast Asia. And Shakti Finance has got presence over 50 locations and a very market dominant position in southern part of our country. Now coming back to the Shakti Group and at the Shakti Finance level also, a great company or a great group is built by a great management team. For our viewers understanding, I'd request you to shed some light on what is the management team that you have in Shakti Finance, or in Shakti Group also, and what's the kind of experience that they bring to the table.
So I will split this into two. One is a structure and the other is a management style. Structurally, all our listed companies are governed by the board. In Shakti Finance, 50% of the board is consisting of independent directors. Those independent directors come from banking, accounting, and legal professions, and technology professions. Similarly, Shakti Sugars also, we have more than 50% as independent directors. And being an agricultural company, we get independent directors from the agricultural societies and also legal and accounting professions. So as per the corporate governing norms, the board appointed committees do independent reviews of all the operations, and once in a quarter we run the ones. For non-listed company, we more or less give the empowerment to the employees to act like an owner. So therefore, some of the powers of directors are already in an informal way given to the employees. So they also conduct the same kind of management review systems. So that's where the kind of a word Swaraj comes in. So we say that you act like an owner. So the culture of ownership is imbibed into the employees to do the review like a director. So we do more a strategic level management. So therefore, the management is split into two levels. One is strategy and operations, which is converted into metrics, for which we follow a balanced scorecard tool. The cultural side, it's more softer, critical issue. So we are forming the Swaraj as a group culture. And for Swaraj management, we have a Swaraj champion methodology, where employees are recognized for demonstrating value-based, culture-based style of operating.
Let's double click on this specific area of culture, right, which is very pertinent to run a business and scale it and have self-inspired, self-motivated employees who are driving the company forward. So what is the kind of culture or the cultural ethos that you have set up in Shakti Group and Shakti Finance, and how do you trickle it down to the last employee in the company?
I think the if you look at the ethos of the group, it comes on edifice built on trust. That is a foundational value that we say as a trust. So right from the beginning, or from the grandfather's days, or more from my father's days, the one of the critical, I think, constant dialogue that goes on is that as a businessman, you are not only responsible for the stakeholders, but you are also you have to act as a trustee for the depositors and the public funds. Therefore, I think this demonstrating the value is more by action and not by communication or professing it. So we ensure that there is a walking the talk that goes on. So right from the top to the board of directors to the employees, the value systems are strongly driven by more act of demonstration than just communication. Therefore, over a period of time, this kind of gets ingrained into the nature of the people.
As new employees join your organization, right? One is, I mean, how do you get employees to align to your cultural values, your cultural system, right? And then how is it that they take the operations forward on their own? If you can emphasize on that part.
I can kind of give you a specific program that we run in Shakti Finance. It's called Swaraj program, or a ownership culture program. So we run a training program before the employees join, as soon as they leave the college. And we run a one-year program where both business practices and value-based practices are taught. So during that year, I think as they complete the program, they are paired with our best employees who are demonstrated the cultural values as the mentor-mentee programs. So therefore, I think when they finish this 1 year and they are ready to join the company, they are already inculcated both in business practices and the value practices. So that's the broader, I think, training programs that we take. Ultimately, I think our ambition is that the entire joinees should be 100% from the trainees or the Swaraj school, rather than from the marketplace.
Right, right.
Maybe Shruti can give the Swaraj school, she can give you a broader perspective as to.
I think it'll be interesting to know about the Swaraj school concept. From what I understood, right, you have built up a beautiful ecosystem wherein you are empowering students with knowledge, not only technical wise but also culture wise, so that they become ready to join into the Shakti group, right? As as finished material, if I may say, right? And they're being able to drive the mission of Swaraj forward. That I drive my own mission in the company, right? And I'm able to take it, which merges with a top level vision and mission of the company. Once only other example that I at least know of is Zoho. Also has some Zoho schools and colleges, right? Beautiful concept. And contributes so much to the development of the society at large. Double clicking on this Swaraj concept on the schools and colleges, can you share some more insights or details around how is this operated?
So, Swaraj Gurukul is an initiative that we've launched recently. And this initiative basically, like Dad had said, it takes in people from our own institutions in the rural parts of southern India, and we train them in our processes. And like you were saying, value based education is one critical component of this whole training program. So, as soon as they come in, we sort of take them through the whole value system that Shakti Group has, that Shakti Finance has, which includes a lot of the softer elements of how you deal with customers and what sort of values that we would like our employees to emulate. And one thing is also because we take people from our own community, which is, say, Pollachi and the surrounding areas, there is a cultural alignment already. And also because they are aware of the Shakti group and the values that the Shakti group follows, automatically there comes in a fitment. So usually when this kind of program is run, the people who align with these values will tend to stay for a much longer time, and we have employees with us who stayed for 35 plus years, and that I think is one of the aspects that we are trying to propagate through the Swaraj Gurukul program.
Got it. Got it. I think that's a beautiful context of a concept of Swaraj Gurukul program, which underprivileged kids getting good quality education, right? And then being able to get that job wherein it's not just doing the job, it's being a part of a community, being part of a big group, right? And being able to drive that mission on their own selves and further, right? So well understood. Moving on to the next part, right, which is more now on the business operations part, right? One of the raw materials to run an NBFC is funds, raising money, and NBFC has that's a way of operating. They will raise funds from the market, and then they will lend it to borrowers, right? And that the cycle goes on, right? Now, my question is. Has Shakti Finance raised funds through NCD IPO routes before, or and what has been like the kind of response and experience over there?
This we have raised public NCDs for the 7 times.
7 times.
7 times, and this will be the 8th issue that we are coming out with. We are also one of the few deposit raising NBFCs as recognized by RBI. So therefore, I think we are both a NCD and a deposit taking company.
For our viewers, this is the interesting point to note. Shakti Finance is coming up with its next tranche of NCD IPO. Another point to note over here is Shakti Finance is a deposit taking NBFC. Now, there are two kinds of NBFCs. One, which raises money from banks or through NCD IPOs or other sources and then deploys it via the lending route. The other category of NBFCs are deposit taking NBFCs. These are the ones who have got permission from RBI to give corporate fixed deposits to retail, right? When retail can invest in those corporate fixed deposits, that gives higher returns than traditional bank FD rates, and they have got the permission to lend it forward to put it into the business cycle. As of date, there are only 34 NBFCs in the country which have got this deposit taking permission as well. And Shakti Finance happens to be one of those few coveted NBFCs only. For NBFCs, the raw material is money, and they have to raise capital from multiple sources through NCD IPOs, from banks, from other lenders, right, and deploy it back into the business cycle of lending it forward to borrowers. Now, my question is, has Shakti Finance raised funds through the NCD IPO route before, and what are the plans for future?
We have raised so far about 7 issues, starting from 100 crore. The last 7th issue was about 200 crores. So now we are planning for the 8th issue in the future.
Got it. Got it. So for our viewers, as Golden Pie is a platform for fixed income investments, this will be of interest to you. Shakti Finance is launching its 8th issuance of NCD IPOs. Now let me share the specifics of the NCD IPO issue that Shakti Finance is coming up with. So this NCD issue will be of the nature of listed and secured nature. That means they will be listed on the exchange and they will be secured with future cash flows. Now, there are multiple tenures across which investors can invest. The tenures are 24 months, 36 months, 60 months, or 85 months. In each of these tenures, once again, investors can opt for two modes of payout. Either they can opt for a monthly payout or a cumulative payout. That means for the 24-month tranche, if you apply, you can select either monthly or cumulative. Same for the 36-month tranche, same for the 60-month tranche. However, for the 85-month tranche that is there is only one payout mode, which is the cumulative payout. Now coming to the yields that the investor can expect from these NCDs, the highest yield stands at 14.30%, which is available for the 85-month tranche. And the lowest yield stands at 9%, which is for the monthly payout option for the 24-month tranche. Retail investors must remember that investing in these NCDs starts at a minimum quantum of just 10,000 rupees, and they can continue this up to straight 10 lakh rupees, and they can invest completely online via the UPI payment route. So today we learned about the Shakti group, how it started, to what level it has scaled. Shakti Finance, we learned in details about the operations, the culture, the social values that it contributes. What next? What is there that you're looking forward, to take this company forward into the future? What are the next steps?
I think on a broader context, as you know, that India is on a growth path. The last 2-3 years, we have seen post-COVID, the One China policy has tremendously created interest in India. So, as I say that, one of the positive things about commercial vehicle industry is there is a very positive correlation between GDP growth and commercial vehicle industry. So, what we see is that for the next 25, 30 years, fairly a good amount of economic growth, therefore directly proportionate growth in the commercial vehicle. And especially with the scrapping policy coming, the used commercial vehicle industry will get a double fill. Therefore, I think we are fairly very confident that the future growth of the industry is going to be on the positive note. Second, if you look at the trends, the entire operating landscape is moving towards digital. Therefore, we are looking at digital as a mainstream and integrating all our group customers onto a single platform. So, we are deploying, as I said earlier, Salesforce as the main technology tool to create a unified view of the customer as a customer 360. At the same time, keeping in values, we are also creating a unified employee 360 onto the Salesforce platform. Therefore, both customers and employees are treated on the same manner and given the same relationship management treatment. I think we will kind of expand much more in the southern 4 states into Andhra, Karnataka and Telangana. And since the market is huge, I think the next decade is going to be fairly very interesting.
Right now, what would be your position with respect to the NBFCs operating in this area? Would you be in the top 10? How is the position of the?
We have a strategic objective of to be amongst the top 3 in the markets that we operate. So therefore, I think as a strong player, I think we will be in the top 3.
Now, coming to concluding questions as key takeaways for our viewers, to both of you. The first question to you is: you are the epitome of a business leader who has got rich learnings, cumulative over 100 years, a century of business learnings. So, can you please share a few key takeaways for budding entrepreneurs of this country?
So since you wanted me to capture the 100-year journey into this, I think I have to refer back to what learnings I had from my father, and therefore what his learning was from his father. One of the key element I think I have seen that stood of time is going back to your ground zero. So I think we are always taught that the harmonious home is very critical. I think in today's world, when money has become the most important thing, home is always forgotten, right? So, but we are taught otherwise, saying that treat home first, then take the business next. Right. So I think that's the critical aspect. Therefore, I think today's context, we call it as a work-life balance. So I think there must be a balance between home and life. And when you're looking at growth, I think the means are as precious as ends. So therefore, I think end is not the critical one. I think how you achieve those ends are also very critical. So therefore, I think value takes a very strong fundamental foundation on this. And the third element is, when you're growing, ensure that you also look at inclusive growth. Inclusive growth for your customers, for your employees, and therefore when you treat customer first and employees first, they automatically will take care of the company. Therefore, I think the organizational growth also will come. I think these are the broad aspect. And I think from a single point of view of a leader, I think you need to lead, at the same time trust and delegate. I think that becomes a critical aspect of how do you create trust, and therefore how do you delegate to your employees is a critical one. And I think our group has also ensured that we not only create employees, but also concept of entrepreneuring that we have done. So very many people who have worked in our group have also become entrepreneurs, and the group has actively supported them becoming entrepreneurs. So one of the strong goodwill that we have is also because I think we don't see I think other entrepreneurs as competitors, but as collaborators. I think these are the fundamental, learnings that we have had, which will stand the test of time.
Great points, absolutely. And I think that's rich learning for any budding entrepreneur or somebody who's already embarked on this journey. Having work-life balance, number one. Number two, having values attached to the way you're operating and you're scaling your business. It's not the end. It's the path that you're taking to reach there, whether it is fortified with values, with ethics and principles, so that finally it is something good that you're doing that becomes very important. And then delegation, that was a splendid point. And coming from you, it corroborates, we read about these articles that speaks about, to scale a business, delegation is important, because one man cannot hold all decisions into his or into his hands. That's not the way to scale up, right? But that's what we have learned in theory. Today we learn actually in practice that is what works. You got to trust and delegate. That's the way to scale up your business. And last but not the least, that you mentioned, fostering the spirit of entrepreneurial culture, that everybody is operating within the company thinking that it is his or her own personal mission and vision as that of the company, that is when it actually becomes something truly magnificent. Great points to learn from you.
Thank you.
Moving on to you, Shruti, the question to you is, you are the fourth generation, in this company, and the business has been 100 years old. So a lot of traditional structures, traditional processes, and you're actively, in the process of modernizing this business, right? So to all such traditional businesses who are now in the process of modernization, or they would embark on that journey very soon, right, with the next generations, right, what would be some key feedback or learnings that you would want to share with them?
So being a part of a traditionally run family business, I think it has its own set of problem statements to solve in the current scenario, because all the businesses that are coming up now are very high performing businesses, and they're very quick to reach their targets through raising funds from venture capitals or private equity. But when you're from a traditional family business, the growth is very sustainable. So it might not seem as fast or as dynamic as other businesses that are currently being built at the moment. But one thing that we always recognize is that it is always better to build on the business with a very strong foundation, and then to reach a goal that we want to over a sustained period of time, rather than focusing on the short term. So when family businesses are trying to modernize and trying to adapt to current situations, it's always better to look at the long term and be patient in the process. So there will be ups and downs and many challenges, but I think how we get through that is what we will have to focus on. So creative problem solving solutions, and all of that needs to be brought in, innovative solutions. Digitization is a key element, because right now customers want to have full transparency with their interactions with any business. So those are areas that we are currently focusing on, and I think all businesses will be focusing on as well in the future. And another thing that I've also realized and read up on is that customers now, and especially the next generation customers, they relate more to businesses that have a good social impact, and they kind of form a better relationship with companies that have a steady value system. So I think keeping that in mind, we'll have to stick to our values, but still yet have a modern futuristic approach. So that will be my takeaway.
I think, that would not only be rich learnings for people looking to modernize, but also for, current entrepreneurs and people who are running their businesses, right? Uh, Growth at all cost is something, as you can see, is something not really recommended. You know, it is to be patient and build a sustainable business, right? As Shruti mentioned. And at the same time, for traditional businesses, digitizing, and through that channel, ensuring the transparency to the end customer becomes all the more important. And I think the most valuable point that you called out is to put up the business not just with the purpose of doing transaction, right, to go well beyond it. The moment you have the ability to do it, right, to give back to the society, to have a social cause that you're championing, because then the overall business does not remain just as a business, but becomes like a living, breathing entity with which your customers, both inside and outside, right, your employees and your customers, can resonate with so well. So rich learnings from both of you. Thank you so much for this in-depth discussion that we had, and I'm sure our viewers have also been able to learn a lot about Shakti Finance, Shakti Group, right? And I'm sure they would be excited about the NCD IPO that is coming up very soon. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Abhijit.
Thank you.
Investments in debt securities are subject to risks. Read all the offer-related documents carefully.